A year ago, I was still drowning in consumer debt, $88,000 to be exact. And I had actually came a long way because I started with $360,000 and I began to get out quicker. There was no lottery win, there was no handouts, and like most of you, there was no rich relatives. For me, it was just lower cost and then beginner-friendly side hustles that I started with no more than my laptop and a plan. And I'm actually gonna walk you through exactly how I did it step by step so that you can hopefully do the same thing. Because for me, if you can give 40 hours a week to your job, you can give a few hours to building your freedom. The turning point for me came in January. And if I can actually just be transparent with you all, which I'm gonna be, I'm actually gonna show you all receipts on today. Most people don't actually do this, but I'm actually gonna show you receipts to show that there's just no fluff. This is all true, real numbers. I was actually tired of paying the banks, the credit card lenders, the Wells Fargos of the world, the American Express, the Capital Ones, the SoFis, the Care Credits, the Chases, and my student loan provider, Nelnet, all the interest I was paying them every month. One afternoon, I was sitting on my couch and I decided to do something I had never done before. I always looked at my payments, but never until that day did I decide to total up the interest that I had paid out for the entire month to these lenders. I was not only shocked, I'll be honest, I was disgusted. In the month of January alone, I paid out $1,016 in just interest. That's money that could have went to my savings, it could have went to my mortgage, it could have went to my retirement, or it could have even went to something for me personally. Here's the first proof. Here, what I'm getting ready to show you all is my Wells Fargo. And this Wells Fargo loan that I have in the month of January, as you can see, as I scroll down, at the beginning of January, I paid out $177 in interest. And then towards the end of the month, I paid out another $112 in interest. And the reason why there's two interest payments here is because I was paying it multiple times because I was trying to get it paid off as quick as possible. So anytime I made a payment, they would pay, part of it had to go to interest. And for me, I'm sure many of you have been in the same situation where you've basically paid more interest than principal on payments. I'm sure you've probably paid more interest than principals on a car payment. And for me, that's when I began to really think about it, how every extra dollar that went to debt was basically hurting my dreams and hurting my future. That's where I began to have a different mindset. And I began to have a moment where I said, it's time to make a decision. For me, I realized that no one's coming to save me, and it's only on me to save me at this point. Your debt, it's not just a number. Come close, get closer, hear me real good when I say this. Your debt, it's the weight that's been keeping you from moving forward. I created a strategy that worked for me. My main approach was to do the following. I had to keep my expenses as low as possible, at least for the time being, but with hopes of doing it moving forward. I would need to boost my income with multiple streams or additional streams of income. This way I had more money coming in. And I would have to apply every extra dollar that came in to paying off debt. Side hustles became a living thing for me. And what I mean by a living thing was I had to have them. Side hustles became the income accelerator that made all of this possible to happen. The first side hustle that I started, and to me, this side hustle brought in the most amount of money, so I'm gonna bring this one up first. It was tax preparation. I was already good with finances, and I was good with numbers. Like I said, I was good with budgeting. Yeah, I ended up in a lot of debt, $300,000+ in debt, but I was paying it off. So I was pretty good with numbers already. So I just decided to learn how to prepare taxes for other people. I got a mentor, a teacher basically, to train me how to do taxes. And then I basically got to work. And truth be told, I used ChatGPT to help me initially after that. I literally used ChatGPT and Canva to create one post. I created a post that I posted on social media, and when I got one client from that post, I began to work like that one client was going to be my only client. I did this for a certain reason though. I understand that customer service can be a vehicle to success. That one client began to turn into multiple clients through word of mouth. Clients then began to share who I was on their social media pages, which turned into a snowball effect, and that's no pun intended. Something I'm going to pull up for you next is my monthly tracker, because I want you all to see how tax preparation ended up helping me. Now, the numbers I'm going to show you are from other sources of income as well, but a lot of this was from tax preparation. So here is my expense and debt page. And when I go to my next page, you see my dashboard. On my dashboard right here, you see that I had $88,370 in debt at the beginning of the year. So as of today, I have paid off $66,937 this year alone, leaving me with a balance of $21,434 yet left. And my goal is to hopefully have it paid off by the end of the year. Do I know if I'll make that? I don't know. I'm hoping I will, but I'm not sure. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the money I made came from tax preparation, and we're out of tax season. So hopefully my other side hustles can make up some ground. If not, I'll have next year. But here, as we go into the different months, you can see here in January, first month of the year, I basically paid off my American Express. And I had a lot of clients start in January. You can actually start preparing taxes in January, but this wasn't all from taxes. I had my other side hustles as well, where I was able to pay off this one credit card in January. But what I mean by snowballing is once I paid off this credit card in January, I could take this additional $500 and put it somewhere else, right? So this $500 that I had from making this payment, which I paid more than the $500, I could now take that access or that extra money and put it towards another bill. If I wanted to put it towards my car payment, I could put it towards my car payment. And instead of paying just $555 on my car payment, I could pay $1,055 on my car payment. Next in February, you'll see where I didn't do that. I paid my regular $555 on my car payment, but I made some more money in February and I was able to pay off my Chase credit card. In the month of March, same thing, made additional money, was able to pay off my iMed credit card, which is basically the care credit. April came, again, made more money, was able to pay off my Wells Fargo personal loan. I got to May, and when I got to May, I didn't have any major extra income coming in. Now I had money that I was saving, and I began to save money, but I just made my basic monthly payments on the other bills. June came, same thing, paid additional money. July didn't. August I did. And that's where we're at now. We're here in August. So the reason I bring that up is because literally one side hustle with one post from AI became a major reward for me in helping me to pay off my debt. And your skills, they may be average, but with AI, your output becomes exponential basically. You're able to do things so much faster and so much more. The next thing for me that I did was I began selling digital products. Now, if you've watched me, you've heard me talk about selling digital products, creating something once, and then you earn from it all the time. That's literally what I did. I actually created a budget planner and I created an ebook, and then I began to sell them. I created a budget planner. So the budget planner that you see that I just showed you all, I purchased that one before I created my own. So I didn't sell the one that I purchased, but I created my own. and I created it through AI. And then I began to sell it on certain platforms like Etsy, Gumroad, as well as on my social media platform, and then word of mouth. Me selling my budget planner, literally, it sells for $10. In 1 week, I sold 10 budget planners. That was literally an additional $100. And I'm not saying that every single week that I was selling 10 budget planners, but that 1 week that I did sell 10, that was an extra $100 that got to go towards paying off an additional debt. Same thing with my ebook. I used ChatGPT to help me write part of it, not the whole thing, because to me, I wanted to be about my story and what I was able to do and how I fixed my credit. I sold my ebook for $25, and I was literally some weeks making an extra $100. Those different side hustles brought in extra money to where I could now place that onto debt and get that stuff paid off sooner. So like I say all the time, digital products, you literally make them once and they're gonna make money for you even when you're asleep. The next side hustle that I began to do, and I've talked about this before, is tutoring, or what I would call skill coaching. I always talk about there's stuff that you already know. I began to teach people how to fix their credit. Like I said, I wrote an ebook. So I began to teach people about that, as well as how to pay off their debt, just as I did it for myself. A few years back, my pastor actually asked me to teach a workshop at a men's week on debt and finances, and then that branched out and became something more. I used platforms like Zoom as well as Facebook groups, and I began to share what I did to others, and that created more students for me. That brought more people to me. What I would say to you is, you got to stop overthinking it. Someone's willing to pay for what you already know and for what you're basically taking for granted. The next side hustle, and this one brought me in, if I'm being honest, it brought in a nice chunk of money, which I spent money, but it brought a chunk of money in to where I was able to pay off a lot of debt. And that basically was flipping items online. I started with things that I had in my house that I no longer used or wasn't using. I began to sell them on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, as well as Poshmark. And that's where I would suggest you start at. You can then reinvest the profits into more inventory if that's what you choose. I began to sell things like sneakers. If you've been a subscriber, if you've watched any of my videos on any of my platforms or any of the platforms, you'll see that I always have sneakers posted up. The crazy thing is, a lot of the sneakers that I have, I've never worn. A lot of them, I never will wear them. So for me, I had got to this point where I was basically a sneakerhead in this sneaker addiction, and I was buying sneakers all the time. Literally 1 year, I remember buying 52 pairs of sneakers. I bought a pair of sneakers every week of that year, and I had never wore the sneakers. So I began to sell those sneakers on StockX, Go, eBay, and just get the money back from them, and then put it towards debt. Some of the sneakers I made a profit off of. Some of the sneakers, I actually took a loss on it. However, for me, my focus was on paying off the debt. The next side hustle for me, which I truly enjoy, it's content creation. And with not only content creation, which that's what I enjoy, but content creation with AI help. Things like Faceless YouTube or TikTok channels, and you can literally use AI for script writing, editing, and voiceovers. Once you blow those channels up or those channels grow, you can monetize them and you'll be able to get ad revenue, affiliate links, as well as you can actually sell digital products on those channels. Me personally, I haven't made any money yet from my social media platforms, from my YouTube, my Instagram, TikTok. However, I'm hoping that one day I will, because this is what I'm into basically. And for me, I'm not just chasing the money. I'm actually trying to build freedom. So discipline has made this possible. Literally, the side hustles, that they made the money, but discipline has made me being able to pay off the debt possible. Every extra dollar that I made went to debt. It didn't go to lifestyle upgrades at all. And something that I'm very big on, and you always hear me talk about this if you've seen any of my other videos, is I made sure I celebrated the small wins to stay motivated, right? When you're making a certain amount of money from your different side hustles, you're like, man, I should go buy this thing, or I should go get this. But for me, I stayed motivated and I celebrated paying off this certain debt because I knew this was going to help my future. You don't need to copy my exact hustles at all. What I would suggest you do copy though is my consistency. I would pick one side hustle and I would commit to it for the next 90 days. And if you want my free side hustle starter kit that I've created, all you have to do is drop the comment you want it, that you want this side hustle starter kit, and I'll make sure I get it over to you. As well as I want you to drop a comment that your debt-free journey starts today. Because the only thing that's standing between you and your freedom is the action that you're going to take to pay off the debt later.